This year marks the 130th birthday of my old house. And I thought it would be fun if I shared a little tour of the house and showed you some of my favorite features. So why don't you come on in? Come on, let me show you around. Welcome to my front hall and my front parlor. Now, as I take you around the house, I also want to share another love that I have recently discovered, and that is the love of the humble house dress. I spent many years as a stay-at-home mom and, well, what might be called nowadays a trad wife. We won't go into that and the troubles surrounding that whole trend. And embracing the humble house dress, I have learned to love their practicality, their comfort, and their ease. Also, a great way to use my vintage fabrics that I have found thrifting and estate sale shopping. So let me show you my house and some of my house dresses and the patterns that I've used to make these. Unfortunately, I haven't had the pleasure of finding any vintage house dresses in my size anywhere or inheriting any from my grandmothers over the years. But I have embraced the energy of these vintage dresses. Even though mine aren't vintage, many of the fabrics that I've made them out of are either vintage inspired or vintage finds. This one that I'm wearing is probably the least attractive and flattering one, and it's definitely the weirdest fabric I have found to make one out of. This is a style arc pattern, and as I go through today's tour and I change house dresses, I will share the links in the description and the names of all the patterns that I have used to make these different dresses if you would like to embrace the house dress lifestyle along with me. This one is the Lena shift dress from Style Arc, and it's about the simplest, most comfortable dress that you could make. It's just an A-line tent style dress, big side pockets, no zippers, no buttons, no elastic, just throw it on and start your day. Added bonus, makes a pretty good nightgown too if you're in need of something like that. So let's go. Let's look around. This was the first view, of course, of the house on the inside that I had when I came to look at it 3 years ago. It didn't look like this that day. Of course, it was empty. The walls were very dirty and marked up and things. But the first thing I saw when I walked in the door were these pillars leading into the parlor and the French doors leading to the back hall, and this woodwork, this beautiful wainscoting with the burl wood. And I knew that this was my house. Now, I'm also very pleased to say that this entire room, including the hallway, the front hall, I have furnished and decorated for right around $1,000, believe it or not. The rugs have come from Facebook Marketplace. Actually, almost everything has come from Facebook Marketplace or a flea market, secondhand, Goodwill. The only new item in this entire room is this purple velvet sofa, because I wanted a purple velvet sofa, and I waited until it went on sale and until I had enough city points from my credit card to pretty much buy it for free. Also the cat's tower that I got for them for Christmas. And when I bought a 72-inch tall cat tower, my sisters are like, "Where are you going to put that?" I'm like, "I have 12-foot ceilings, girls. 6-foot cat tower, not a problem." This piece is an antique. It's probably at least as old as my house, and it was my great-grandmother Nellie's. I've since turned it into a little bar area. Here I am in the background. Hey, Lilybell. Hey. Oh, stretch. Sometimes you have one of your nicer house dresses on and you got to do a little dirty work. Something that you don't want to get anything on. And that's when a good apron is really all you need. And I love this apron. It's another vintage fabric find. This fabric was found at an estate sale in northern Michigan, and another style art pattern. And it's the perfect apron for household chores and just looking cute. What do you think? When I first saw the kitchen in the house, I was very relieved to see that it had lots of storage and was as modernized as you could hope for in a 130-year-old house. It still needs more modernization, but it's fully functional for me. And yeah, this color was one of the first things I thought I would change, and here we are 3 years later. And it's still turmeric yellow, but it's grown on me. It'll get painted eventually, but that day, again, is not today. One of the features of the house, of the kitchen, that I really was intrigued by when I saw the house were these brick floors in the kitchen. Again, they are not original, and they have not been as good as I had hoped they would be. They're really hard to keep looking clean. Actually, they've been really hard to get to look clean, and because the mortar grout between the bricks. When I moved in, the section you're looking at, all of that mortar was black. And I spent many a day, many an hour on my hands and knees with steam cleaners, scrub brushes, toothbrushes, every cleaning product I could find to try to scrub them and get them clean and then seal them. It's better than it was. That's about all I can say about it. Another feature of this old kitchen that I love are these 3 big windows. And they came with the shutters on the inside when I moved in. Have been here, haven't taken them down. Well, that one fell off on that window, but the cat likes to sit and look out that window, so we leave it. And I had to put up these honeycomb shades because in the morning the sun comes right in here, and it is hotter than blazes in the summer when that sun cooks through those old windows. And I thought they were also a temporary fix, but here we are. Someday I will make new curtains and figure out a way to shield the sun from these windows a little bit more. But a bright, sunny kitchen is always a plus in my book. Another feature I really liked in this kitchen when I first moved in was this little window seat looking out to the backyard. And it has a cushion. It's not on it right now because there's a cat tree on it. Because the mama cat and her babies are in this part of the house, and in a couple weeks they'll be climbing on it and wanting to look out that window. I also store my laundry detergent right there, but that's just because the laundry is going right now. It is cleaning day. always a bonus to have a matching apron to your house dress as well. And if you'd like to know how to make your own clothes peg apron, I do have a video on how to make this one, and I'll link it down in the description. This is the house dress I put on when I know that I have to go run some errands or maybe meet someone for lunch, because it's a little more street worthy, if you will. It's made of a cotton seersucker. It has a side zip, which gives it a little more fitted look. It's got big pockets. It's always got to have pockets, and it's always have to have a loose waist and be comfortable for me to want to wear it as a house dress. And I love this pattern. I will definitely be making it again, and I wear it quite often in the summer. When I first saw this house on my first drive-by before my appointment with the real estate agent, one of the first things I noticed was she needed some exterior work. She needed a paint job. Her fence was peeling and looking pretty bad. But I was up for the challenge. And a couple years ago, I did get the exterior painted. One of the things I love is that I chose this dark aubergine purple for my trim work. So it really makes these old windows pop. But I did keep her yellow. She was yellow when I saw her, and I kept it yellow when I repainted it. And I spent a week or more power washing and repainting the fence. And I'm sad to say, it needs to be done again. It's not as bad as it was, but I'd rather clean it up and put on a second coat of paint before it needs it, rather than have to go through the whole process again. So that might be on the docket for the fall, is to clean up the fence a little bit and get another coat of paint on it. But there are still a number of things that need to be done to the exterior of this house. For one, this porch pretty much needs completely rebuilt. And I'm going to turn the camera around and show you one of the scariest things that's going on with this porch. So I have this porch support, but it is rotting, it is falling. I can see here where it has, the problem has progressed even since the last time I looked at it. But fortunately, I have an old house loving neighbor who came in and put up these temporary supports for me a couple weeks ago, and hopefully that will keep the porch from falling in on this corner until I can find someone to fix it. Other problems is that the decking boards are warping and rotting in a few places. And they were doing that. We did some temporary fixes when we painted the house, but it's not holding up. This, I'm afraid, yeah, it's very squishy. Here's Henry enjoying the outside. And for you people who have a problem with outdoor cats, this is pretty much how he spends his outdoor time. Just hanging out on the porch. Are you going on a tour with me? Are you going on a tour with me? Yeah? Okay. This became one of my favorite rooms in the house after I repainted it and redecorated it. When I first saw the house, well, you could hardly walk in this room. There was a little goat trail from the door to the bathroom door because it was packed higher than I am tall with the former owner's belongings, and I didn't know I had a window seat until the day I moved in, because this was packed with boxes of things. And fortunately, this was the room that needed the least amount of work, so I moved in here as my bedroom for the first few months until I had other rooms that I could move my bed into. This beautiful bed was another Facebook Marketplace find. It came with the box spring and mattress, and it had been in someone's guest room and hardly ever slept on. And I think it's every little girl's dream. I know I would have loved to have had a pretty bed like this when I was a little girl, so I thought it fit perfectly into the pink room. Another feature I want to share with you about this old house are these beautiful fireplace tiles. These have pine cones, and they're a deep blue-green as well. And when I was looking at the house, I could only see the tiniest corner of the fireplace to see the tiles. Some of you may remember me finding and getting my old Singer treadle sewing machine. I've named her Rosie, and I haven't opened her up and used her in a while, but she does work, she does sew, and I have been considering making one of my house dresses on Rosie like my great-grandmother Nellie would have done. And this house dress is one of my favorites in my handmade collection of house dresses. It's made from some fabric that I found at the Goodwill, and it is either Waverly, I think it's Waverly fabric, and they were curtain panels. They were basically bed sheet fabric, but they were curtain panels when I found them for just a couple dollars. And I love how loose and flowy, comfortable it is, and it's probably one that I could wear out to the store if I needed to run an errand. But to me, it just looks a little bit too much like bed sheets to wear to an event or anything. But it's super cool and comfy on these humid summer days. So this one gets a huge thumbs up for me, and I will definitely use this pattern again, maybe for something in a cotton voile or something a little dressier. And I am considering also making a self fabric belt to belt it if I were to want to wear it out in public. But you can see it has nice little pleats or pin tuck detailing, a nice collar. It's just throw it on, no zippers, no buttons. Toss it over your head in the morning, and you're good to go for the day to get all your chores done, or to lounge around and read a book. Now, I always try to keep it real with y'all, and you may see in the reflection of this mirror, which was actually left in the house when I moved in. It's antique, it's pretty, but to keep it real, as pretty as this room is, it has become my storage unit. Because remember, this house doesn't have a basement or a garage or anywhere to put the stuff. So this is my least used room, set by her. And so it's become my off-season clothing rack room, storage bin room. One of those has raw wool in it that needs to be processed sooner rather than later. And other stuff, including my extremely useful, and I couldn't have done this house without it, scaffolding, which eventually will be taken down and stored somewhere. I just don't know where. But every time I think about taking it down, I find another thing up high that needs my attention, so I roll it out of here and use it. So I guess if I ever had a long-term house guest or someone who was going to be particularly picky and stay in this room, I could clean this stuff out of here, but yeah, not gonna keep the dirt. Well, it's not dirt, it's clean. Not gonna keep the real truth of the situation from all y'all. It's a beautiful room, but it is my storage area for now. I've always had visions of this wall having built-in bookshelves and all my book collection and other things in here. And maybe someday it will, but that day is not today. Here is by far, I can't say my favorite room of the house, but the one that has the most personal touches to it, because it's my art room and it's filled with all of my creations, old and new. It's where I create all my new things, my sewing area, my art area, often my filming and area, as well as editing area. In my sit and think area. And of course, many of you know, this is Miss Maeve's domain. She lives in here very happily. But she's doing a very good job of modeling probably one of the biggest projects and maybe most annoying project that I did in this house, which is this painted and stenciled floor. When I moved into this house, this room had some really awful carpet in it. And my sister came down to help me get settled a couple weeks after moving in. And we painted and painted this room, ripped up the old carpet, scrubbed the floor a couple hundred times, it felt like. And then later, I did the painting. And I have to say, there is, I think, 2-part video on the painting of this floor. I had to start over more than once. But it doesn't matter, because the final result, definitely worth it. This was the house dress that I made, not really intending it to be a house dress, but it was a workable, wearable toile or test dress for this pattern, which is the Armidale Dress from Style Arc. And just a really nice basic shirtwaist dress. But I made it out of this cotton print that I have an entire bolt of. We've seen this fabric before, and we will probably see it again, just to test the size and the fit and the construction. And once I got it done and put on, I felt like I was channeling my grandmother, because this is definitely something she would have worn many, many times as she helped around the farm, helped around the house, all those things. And I really love it. Let me put this down. Couple issues that I had is that it's just a little bit too big. I bought this pattern as a printed pattern rather than a downloadable pattern, and I didn't quite have the sizes. I didn't think I had the sizes I needed per measurements. So I've retraced the pattern in a smaller size, and I intend to at least make the upper part, the bodice, just a size or two smaller, because it's just a little roomy around here. I'm not the most well-endowed person, but I do have a large endowment down here. So anyhow, I'm going to recut it and resew it out of this fabric that I have had in my stash for a while, and it's just a really pretty little light blue. It's like a men's shirting. I keep meaning to look up and see if I can figure out what the name of this type of fabric is, because it's almost an Oxford cloth, maybe, but it's a nice weighted cotton fabric. This was also a flea market thrift store find. 3 yards here at 60 inches wide, more than enough to remake this dress. At the end of a long day of housework and chores and laundry, the best thing to do is to take off your house dress, fill your tub, add some Epsom salt and take a nice long soak before getting into your freshly made bed and calling it a day. I hope you enjoyed that little tour of my humble home, my beautiful home, my heart home, the home that I've always dreamed of. And I have loved almost every minute of bringing it into my vision and making it home and living slowly, purposely, mindfully, and artistically in it every day. And I hope you find a space and a way of bringing that same sense of peace and joy to your life as well. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. Peace out, take care of yourself, and love you lots. Bye.